Welcome to 10 Minutes. I'm Tony Scott. How are you doing today, Mr. Odney?
I'm fine.
Just fine? I thought you were going to come up with something really good for today's show.
My nitro cold brew's worn off.
It's wearing down?
I can feel myself slowing down.
You were fairly hyper in the girls' show. You're not going to give the same energy to the boys?
Okay, hang on.
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
All right, ready to go. All right. Let's go. Let's roll. Tell us about our sponsor. I'm so excited.
It's going to be True North Warrior Hockey at tnhockey.com. The Warriors are coming to the Red River Valley. Map South Hockey's bringing their program out there, which is basically the Blue Army.
They're always ready to come out and play.
Yes, they are. They are running a program. Got some great people up there. Rob Grammer will spearhead that effort. I think they're going to have some great teams. So if you live up in that area, Bemidji, West Fargo, Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, Crookston, Moorhead, Fargo, look them up, tnhockey.com.
It seems like it would be much easier to carpool if everyone in the Red River Valley played for one AAA team.
It would be.
Instead of trying to carpool with the Blades all summer.
That would. It'd be tricky.
That would be a lot easier. Who do you think they'll play in their first game? The Baseball Furies?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. All right. We aren't going to skip out on the Squirts this week. There wasn't a lot to talk about.
Sorry, Squirt.
Not a lot of movement.
Nope.
You know, we covered it heavily the week before with the international.
Fargo.
I'm sure we'll have a final ranking for the Squirts coming down the pike here pretty soon.
Couldn't tell you.
Let's go to the Lumberjack Cup. Talk about some of the games we saw.
What a
observations.
weekend.
It really was.
What a weekend.
It was something else. The best game of the tournament was the Pee Wee A division, Mankato and Northfield. Sure enough, two District 9 teams square off in the championship game. I'm sure they were familiar with one another, playing in district play this winter. Northfield, complete control of this game. I mean, literally complete. I'm like, this game's going into running time type of control.
It was 3-0.
It was 3-rip, and then Mankato scored 2 goals to make it 3-2, but then Northfield made it 4-2. They calmed everything down, and then sure enough, Mankato just kept coming. We ended up 5-5 after regulation, and Mankato won out. They scored their first 2 goals in the shootout, and their goaltender Mason Schreiber, stuffed their 2 goals, and they were the champions. They weren't in the tournament. It's very similar to Jefferson at the Founders Cup. They weren't in the tournament until Thursday at 4:20 p.m.
Wow.
That's when they
remember it down to the minute.
Yeah, because I know that we tweeted something out at like 4:07 p.m. and they responded back within like 12 minutes to secure the spot. So.
Well, nice to see Mankato come away with the title. I know they ran into some trouble. Was it at Founders Cup or was it Big Pumpkin that they played in?
Founders Cup.
Founders Cup. I think they went 2-2
yeah.
or 2-3 or something.
Did okay. So. They left happy though.
Yeah, nice to see them bounce back a little bit.
Play in the Pee Wee A division where Founders
the
is
actual
A and
Pee Wee
Double
A division.
It's a lot of fun when you get the best A teams. And a really bad shout out to the Northern Michigan Marquette Wildcats or Junior Wildcats.
Not a bad shout out.
Listen to this,
bummer shout
sports fans. A total bummer. They were halfway to Minneapolis on Thursday and were told they had a COVID exposure in their association, so everybody from the association was quarantined in Marquette. They had to turn around and come home. We would have loved to have had the Junior Wildcats see if they could defend that A title. They got a good replacement, Mankato. Mankato comes in and wins it. Congratulations to Mankato. In the Double A section, Matamidi wins 3-2. To win
celebrated
the title.
Like they just won Game 7 of the Stanley Cup.
It was great. It was great. They had been in 3 of our tournaments this year. They got upset in the Founders Cup. They lost in the finals of the Pumpkin, and they finally got one. They got the big block of wood with the axe on it. They were pretty excited about it.
Axe blade. Where
it is great.
When the kids lift it up, you're always thinking, "Oh, please don't touch the axe blade."
I kind of thought it was interesting. They lost to Chaskatchan in pool play 5-2, but avenged that loss from Friday or Saturday on Sunday afternoon and won the title. So,
also shout out to Matamidi for being the easiest team to call on a broadcast.
Yes,
there's only like 3 skaters, and they have the names on the back of their jerseys, so you don't even need their roster.
It's like the long hairs and the short hairs on that team.
Yep.
You got Pierce Simone, Cheezick, not Chezik, Cheezick, Lang. They're so easy to spot.
Yeah, all that hair.
And then you got the short hairs on the team, like Rylan DeMars. Boomer's hair used to be really long. He's kind of a medium hair now. And then you got the MVP, which was Henry Samper, was the short hair, and he was outstanding the entire weekend.
For sure.
Congratulations to the West Fargo Pee Wee AA team. They win the Pee Wee AA state title in North Dakota this past weekend. We know a lot of those kids, whether they've come to our camps, played in our AAA events. They played a really strong game, I think, against Edina in the semifinals of the Pumpkin.
They did.
So congratulations to them. Any other thoughts on PBAA, part of that, of the Lumberjack Company teams you saw that you liked?
No. Not
Nothing.
any teams that I hadn't seen, 10 times previous.
We've seen a lot of these teams. We are really fluent in Pee Wee AA and Pee Wee A hockey, wouldn't you say?
I would say almost too fluent. Calling that Matamidi Jefferson semifinal, I put the rosters down after about 5 minutes.
You didn't need them. I will talk about one of those games for me as a broadcaster coming up later in the show. Okay, we have our Bantam Player of the Year finalists. We will announce soon, we'll say it. There will be 6 finalists this year.
Wow.
Would you like me to tell you about these 6 finalists?
Why don't you tell me about 5 of the 6 finalists?
I'm going to tell you
one
about
as a
all
mystery
6.
flavor.
I'm going to tell you about all 6, but I'm not going to tell you who they are. Okay?
All right.
There are 2 from northern Minnesota. Okay? Right. There are 2 from the same team.
Ooh.
Yes. Think about that one for a second. And then there are 2 birds. There might be more than 2, but for sure there are 2 birds in our sect of 6 finalists.
Who's going to rule the nest?
Who's going to rule the nest? We will find out very soon. Keep an eye on our Twitter feed and Youth Hockey Hub to find out who our finalists will be.
Sometime next week.
Speaking of finalists, we announced our Player of the Year boys finalists. Nice job writing the capsules.
Thank you.
And we did some interviews with the boys.
You did.
I enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
I have a few shout-outs from those interviews.
I heard something interesting about the Grand Rapids interview.
It was quite interesting, and it was 100% my fault.
I was going to say you could boom roast yourself for forgetting the camera tripod.
I forgot the tripod.
Tell us about the Grand Rapids interview.
I realized it at 5:30 in the morning that I was without a tripod. I did salvage a tripod in Hermantown thanks to Zam Plant's mom, Christy.
Thanks, Christy.
I wish she would have lived in Grand Rapids because I would have really could have used it there. But we got a backup tripod. His name was Miles Gunderson, the goaltender for the varsity team at Grand Rapids. Aptly held on to the camera and did quite a nice job.
It's a lot harder than it looks.
Oh, it is very hard to hold a steady hand. So, and we tried a million different things, but it didn't work out.
All right. Why don't you tell me the best storyteller?
We had Kyle Kukkonen in the office yesterday for his interview, and man, I could just sat there for another 2 hours and let him tell me stories about kids that are playing at the National Development Camp, kids that he's played with in the summer, stories about guys on his team, guys who work hard, guys who he's cheering for, guys in his league, guys but in the state tournament. That guy was an encyclopedia of information when it came to youth hockey in Minnesota, specifically to his 02 and his senior class of 2021. It's fun to sit down and talk to Kyle for a little bit.
Did he give you an unsung hero from the Maple Grove team?
No, he didn't, but I bet it would have been Ryan Reed, right?
Reed.
That's one of his buddies. I called him the unsung hero back in the Squirtacular.
Oh, boy.
And that was his Twitter, Ryan Reed's Twitter signature at the end. Tony Scott once called me the unsung hero, so it's still always going to be Ryan Reed.
That's fun. All right. This one seems a little disingenuous. It's titled Best Mumbler.
Well,
but all of them mumbled at some point.
Probably mumbled, with the mask. But one of the best mumbles I heard, we kind of try to trip the finalists up with a who do you Snapchat with the most. We're trying to get them to cough up their girlfriend or, someone, who they like or something. And maybe the default sometimes is just the group chat. But 4 out of the 5 gave us their girlfriends and their girlfriend's name. But Zam Plant, being the sophomore, was a little nervous his first go round on the interview. He mumbled it a little bit. So we got done with the first interview. I said, Zam, are we going to say Natalie's name, or are we not going to say Natalie's name? He goes, oh, I'm going to say it. I'm like, let's do it again, and let's get Natalie's name right. So he mumbled a little bit, but he recovered and gave us a great interview and has had a great season so far.
All right, this one's easy. Best dressed.
The morning Jackson Hallam came to his interview, I thought to myself, it would be so cool if he showed up in one of those St. Thomas Academy uniforms.
Yep.
And without even prompting him, he showed up in his Class B uniform. He had a tie. It was all this. He was all nervous. Like, I got to make sure that if I'm videotaped, I have everything all buttoned up and tied up. And he was good. He nailed it. His interview was awesome. He gave us the Nebraska prayer, the prayer that they scream out before every game with the leader, the captain. You ever seen it where the one guy's standing up and everyone's crouched down on a knee?
You mean like Nebraska football?
Yeah.
I haven't watched a Nebraska football game in 30 years.
It's the Nebraska prayer. It's the
years.
Nebraska prayer, and it was outstanding. He recited it on his interview.
Wow. Okay, I would have made this guy best dressed, but he's labeled as best advice taker.
He was best dressed. He had the hoodie on, backwards hat. He was so chill.
Relaxed.
He was chill. We got to asking Luke Middlestat about his why did he feel pressure to go to the U like Johnny and Casey, and he's like, I didn't really get any pressure. I was looking at Minnesota, Wisconsin, Denver as my choices, and then when Motzko got hired, Casey had played for Bob Motzko in the World Juniors, and Casey came back and says, hey, you gotta play for this guy. You're gonna really like it. He's a skill-based coach. It's all skill training during the practices. He wants to expose you. He wants you to get better. He wants to make you a pro. He's the guy you want to play for. So that was he took his brother's advice and committed to the Gophers. He'll be skating there. Who knows? Maybe next fall, maybe the year after. You never know these days with college hockey.
Yeah, we'll see whenever he signs the NLI. You know what would have been an interesting place for him to go? Kind of off the beaten path.
Where?
Specializes as a mobile defenseman like Luke.
Where's that?
Western
Quinnipiac?
Michigan.
Winnipeg? Yeah,
Western Michigan. Ronnie Attar, Danny DeKaiser.
A lot of good players there. A lot of good players.
Boy, if he would have gone to Western Michigan, they would have named their ice facility after him by the time he left.
Yes, they would have. All right, there's some hot teams. We got a couple AA teams. We got a couple A teams. You want me to go first? You want to go first with your A's?
I'm going to go first.
You go first. You're going single A.
Actually, no. I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to grab my research.
Okay. All right. Oh boy, here we go. I'm going Hill Murray. Has won 10 in a row. They've crept up on Carl Shetler's top
Way
10.
Off the board.
Top 10 in the state. They're number 2 now, and they just beat St. Thomas Academy last night handily, 7-3. Goal scoring has always been the question mark for Hill Murray. I think they're scoring lots of goals lately. I think they would be one of the favorites to win the state title.
Wow, a back-to-back state title.
Back-to-back. There you go.
Back-to-back. All right, my first one is Cambridge Isanti. They've won their last 5 games.
Here we go.
They've shown they can win the close games,
Yep.
going 3-0 in games decided by 2 goals or less in that stretch.
Who was their last win over on Saturday? Do you remember that?
I do. It was over Northern Lakes.
Yes, Northern Lakes had just defeated Little Falls.
That's what Cambridge does. They crush dreams.
And Northern Lakes comes down and plays a section opponent, Cambridge Isanti, and Cambridge Isanti beats them 6-5 in overtime. Can't remember his first name. I want to say it's Jared Zebarth had a hat trick in that game for the
Producer
Blue
Todd,
Jackets.
can you pull that box score?
There's
up, please?
2 Zebarths on the team. I think the one who had the hat trick is Jared Zebarth. Want me to go back now? I'm going to go double A?
Yeah.
Okay, Lakeville North, 4-0-2. They've tied Lakeville South. They're getting better and better. Wouldn't it be funny to talk about Lakeville South all year long and then have at the last minute the carpet pulled out from underneath them?
What did I say after the first game I watched them play?
What?
Didn't look good in the first game. They'll get better.
Who, Lakeville North? Yeah, I agree.
They're a typical Lakeville North team. There's not a ton of scoring up front. They don't
No.
have a Paling or an Enneback to go out and score 20 goals, but they're well coached. They're disciplined. They play well defensively. If they can keep scores low, they're going to have a chance against just about anybody.
For the first time in 10 minutes history,
You're welcome.
Kitson Central will make our show for 2 times in a season. Congratulations, Bearcats.
The Bearcats.
For their big streak. What are they on now?
They're 11-0-1 in their last 12 games. They've got one of the state's top scorers in Tyler Hennon with 25 goals and 45 points. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume it's his brother. There aren't that many
Yep.
people in Kitson County.
Yep.
Hayden Hennon's got 11 goals and 28 points, and goaltender Wyatt Olsanowski. I don't know if there's any more northern Minnesota name than
No.
Olsanowski. has 4 shutouts this season.
It was Jacob
Bearcats.
Zebarth. Jacob Zebarth. I was close. I was
you
close.
weren't.
Thank you, Todd. Jared and Jacob. Sorry.
It's not that close.
So we've covered our hot teams in the States.
Yep. Let's do cold teams.
There's a couple cold ones out there.
Just kidding. They know who they are.
Here's a couple games that I have seen in the last week. Little Falls beat Fergus Falls
Battle
at
of
home.
Falls.
What an amazing game it was. Back and forth. It was bodies flying everywhere. Teams just kind of giving it their all. They grew up playing against each other in District 15. They played us in the summer together. They trained together. These guys know each other really well. The coach, Mike Donahue, who I interviewed on Sunday for our boys high school hockey podcast, gets teed up in the game. He got super hot after a bad tripping call, and then they scored on it, and then he gets teed up. No, so they got a bad tripping call, and they scored, and then after the goal was scored, that's when he got teed up. So they went on the shorthanded, and they went shorthanded again, but they didn't score on the second shorthanded. But it was just an exciting game to watch. The broadcasting team for Little Falls High School is A++. I love watching those Little Falls broadcasts.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the one game that I saw in A, and then last night I had the honor of doing the Lakeville South defeat of number 1 Maple Grove 4-3. I'll give a little game puck later.
I'm
on this
assuming
game.
that game broke all of our live stream records.
It was not on our network, but I
Oh.
do know for fact it was embedded onto our website, and I think we kind of worked well together. I was helping get people to come and watch the game on our website.
Yep.
But they ended up there were 1,400 people at the High Point watching the game at some point last night. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think it's going to end up being about 3,000 or 4,000 total people entries into that game as the night wore on.
Well, good for both teams.
Where do we go next? Back to the game pucks. The puck is flying in here. Peter, let's hear it.
I almost dropped it. My game puck goes out to ESPN and the NHL. I just listened to the theme song a couple of times. It's embedded in my brain. The league and the broadcasting company, broadcast network, came to a 7-year agreement. And Thomas Drance, who I believe does a podcast on The Athletic, and he writes for The Athletic, said that this is not only going to give the league more visibility, this also creates a larger pie for the teams to fight over. So team valuations are going to go up as a result of this, which is great considering all team valuations were down after COVID-19. So
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
ESPN and the NHL.
I think it's awesome for hockey to finally get back on a major network for extended periods of time.
They had to, whatever the cost.
I agree with that. My game puck, which mentioned a second ago, goes out to the Booster Club for Maple Grove High School, giving me the opportunity to broadcast that game last night. What a fun night. What a great hockey game we got to see between 2 top 5 teams in the state. That both teams pretty much didn't get a game outside of conference. Maple Grove played Dodge County, but this was a real game finally for both teams that they could kind of sink their teeth into some non-conference play. It was fun. I think I did a great job broadcasting. I got a lot of kudos.
my gosh.
I think I did.
Oh
I can't tell. The reason I say think, sometimes I know when I did good or did well, but in this case, I couldn't hear myself. There was no earphones.
Oh, really?
I couldn't hear myself. There was no attachment to hear. So the whole game, I'm like, I kind of know when I'm crisp, and I know when I'm good, and I know when I'm bad. Felt like I delivered a good game last night.
How's your shoulder feel?
Feels pretty good.
From patting yourself on the back,
Feels pretty
so dang
good. I did
hard.
pretty well. I think I did pretty well. I would be the first to admit when I stink, too.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you credit for
All
that.
right. All right. What's next? Boom roasted?
We're on Boom Roasteds.
All right. Are you going first?
Yeah, I might as well go
All right,
first.
go ahead.
Originally, I was going to spout out about the top 3 dumbest quotes I heard at TRIA over the weekend, but I'm not going to do that.
You're going to stay positive?
No, I'm not going to stay positive.
All right.
This is just a friendly reminder. If your team, your coaching staff, or your parents are too much of an issue, it'll come into play the next time we do a tournament. Okay? Some teams might not get asked back if you're going to be too much of a hassle. If you openly refuse to wear your mask this year, that's not a headache that we really want to deal with. if you say incredibly rude things about one of our employees, I'm not deaf. I can hear you talking about one of our employees incredibly. I used to wonder where the jerk kids came from. I realized they come from the jerk parents.
Yeah.
That philosophy also carries into where you want your kid to play over the next couple of years. Scouts, college coaches, junior general managers, they do not want to deal with headaches. And I got to say, none of you are good enough to get away with being a giant jerk.
It's interesting you should say that, because hopefully you're not taking this as us saying, hey, we're listening, we're going to tell these scouts, whatever.
Nope, we're not going to be tattletales.
No, but they're in the rink too, and they can hear the same things and see the same things what we're seeing. So you kind of got to up your behavior game when you get into these rinks. People are watching you at all times.
So if a scout hears you say something derogatory or rude or critical, unnecessarily critical of an employee, that scout's going to go, I wonder what they say to their kid about their coach or the scout or the general manager.
Right.
So everyone can hear what you're saying.
Agreed. My my boom roasted is going to go out to the COVID concerns and frustrations of the week, because there's always seems to be at least one or two that kind of pops up and gives us problems.
One or two. There's like
Last week it was the district playoffs starting during our tournament. And we couldn't allow teams to finish our tournament. So that's my boom roasted. I'm not roasting the districts for starting their playoffs. It's just finding out the week of or 3 days before that their district playoffs, they're not allowed to do both. So
more of a boom roast to COVID.
The whole thing is more boom roast to COVID. All right, last question. It's always the if you could, and this one's if you could play with the best NHL line ever, who would it be, or who was the best NHL line ever?
This was my favorite line, especially on NHL 2001 and 2002. The A line from the New Jersey Devils: Jason Arnott, Patrick Elias, and Peter Sikora.
Good line. Really good line. Good variety there, too.
You got the skill with Elias. You got the distribution with Sikora. You got the brawn with Jason Arnott.
Can't stop it.
Can't stop
it. All right, my line, I don't know if it has a fancy name like the A line. It just was really
the
good.
Old man line.
It was really good. The late 70s were my hockey opinions started to formulate. Big impression was the Montreal Canadiens playing in the Forum, and their first line was Guy Lafleur, Steve Schutt, and Jacques Lemaire. And it was, they just were so unselfish. They didn't care how many points they had. Lafleur didn't even wear a bucket, and they just ran roughshod over the NHL for 4 or 5 years, and it was a fun line to watch. So that would be my line that I'd like to see. We didn't pick Gretzky and Tikkanen
and Curry.
That was a good line
cheating,
too.
Though.
It was. They were really good as well.
Cheating.
We aren't cheating our time here. We're well over 20 minutes.
If you stuck around for the whole thing, wow, good for you.
Congratulations. You get a gold star. For Peter Odney, I'm Tony Scott. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys around the rink.